Summary seems to pose a little difficulty to students, but I can assure you that it's easy to write summary in exams. And we're going to look at some guidelines today to help us through. Now, before we look at some useful tips to summary, I'd love us to consider some don'ts in summary writing. What are some of those things that are almost like a taboo to summary? I think if you can know these things, it'll add beauty to your work, and you're sure to expect a good mark from summary in English language. So let's look at the don'ts in summary writing. Number one, don't in summary writing is, I strongly advise you not to start summary with preamble. If the point you're going to give does not correlate with the preamble you wrote earlier, it's going to cost you some marks. Let's use this as an example. You might have a question that says, in 3 sentences, one for each, summarize the problems faced by less developed countries. Now, if I'm to start my answer with a preamble, I'm going to write something like this. The problems faced by less developed countries are high rate of unemployment, social amenities, high poverty rate. So these are my answers, but I've given a preamble before. Now, if I should pick each of these points and try to connect it to my preamble, and it doesn't give me a complete sentence, I'm going to lose marks. Okay, so that's why it's better not to use preamble. Now, what is your way out if you're not to use preamble? I'll advise that you use simple sentences. Okay, so let's restructure those answers again into simple sentences, and you will love it. Our answers with simple sentences will look like this. Less developed countries are faced with problems of unemployment. Less developed countries lack social amenities. Less developed countries have high poverty rate. Okay, so these are simple sentences, and this is how your sentence should be structured when you're writing summary. Now, let's look at number 2 important point we should know when we want to summarize a passage. You should know that summary answers should not start with pronouns. Pronouns like they, it, he, she, and so on. Let's go back to our question. The question says, in 3 sentences, summarize the problems faced by less developed countries. It's not very acceptable to write answers like this. They are faced with high rate of unemployment. They lack basic social amenities. They have a high poverty rate. These answers are beginning with pronouns, and it's not acceptable. So begin your answer with either a proper noun, a noun phrase, or a common noun that is key from your question. Okay? So what phrase are we picking from our question to begin our answer? Less developed countries. And in beginning your answer, you must repeat that phrase, that noun, in each of your points. So we are saying less developed countries, number 1. When we're starting number 2 again, we're still going to say less developed countries. Less developed countries. Okay, it's very important. That is the requirement. That is the standard. All right. The number 3 don't of summary is copying verbatim. Avoid lifting words. Don't use the exact word of the writer. It's prohibited. Now, what is your way out? You can use synonyms. You can break down complex terms into simpler forms. For example, I might have a sentence like this. The student was rusticated from the college. There's a word there that I can break down or use a synonym of it. Okay? Rusticated. Rusticated simply means to be expelled or to be suspended. So I'll say in my answer, the student was expelled from the college. That is better. So try to use synonyms of words. Try to break down words into their simpler forms in your summary answers. We should also avoid using complex sentences in writing summary. Let's look at an example of a complex sentence in summary answer. If I have this kind of sentence, the boy agreed to do the job because he wanted to pay his school fees. Now that's a good sentence, right? But there's an element of complexity there, and that is because. Now, what is the question? The question says, summarize in a sentence why the boy agreed to do the job. You already have why the boy agreed to do the job in the question. So you don't need to repeat that in the answer. So how should we structure our answer using a simple sentence? It's easy. Just do not use complex sentences with a subordinator. No. So what we should say is, the boy wanted to pay his school fees. And that's all. We're looking at the next don't in summary, and that is the basic. Not using punctuations. What does it cost to put a full stop at the end of a sentence? I think it costs nothing. Just learn to put a full stop at the end of your sentence. Okay, as insignificant as it might look, it can cost you a mark. All right, so learn to use punctuations in answering summary. So we've looked at some of the don'ts in writing summary. So let's give the guidelines now. Let's try to just outline what we need to do. We have talked about them, okay, but I want to just put them in an outline form. All right. So the first guideline is identify the topic sentence according to each paragraph. Now, I've talked about topic sentence in one of my videos. I'm going to leave a link to that video in the description box. Go and check it out. But basically, a topic sentence conveys the main idea of a paragraph. So if you can know the topic sentence of a paragraph, it's easier for you to pick the point, the main point from that paragraph. All right? Topic sentence is key. Number 2, avoid writing a long sentence. Don't be tempted to write long sentences in answering summary. Number 3, present your points in simple and clear sentences. Now, the key word there is simple. Simple. The sentence should be simplified enough. All right? Number 4, use your own words and don't copy verbatim. Don't copy word for word. It's very key. Number 5, be brief and go straight to the point. Just hit the nail on the head. That's summary for you. All right? You don't need to explain yourself in writing summary. Just deliver your points, state the fact, and you're done. Number 6, don't introduce a foreign idea into your answer. What does that mean? Every passage has a main and basic idea it's trying to convey. So don't bring in your own personal idea. Your answers should be based on the idea of the passage. When you bring in foreign idea, you could be penalized. So be careful. Stick to the basic message of the passage and use it to answer your questions. Number 7, read the passage more than once for good understanding. You need to have good understanding of the passage before you start summarizing. So ensure that you read and read again so that you can get good understanding of the passage. Number 8, and I think this is the most important. I love this so much. Now, at times, it's good to read the question first so that you can know what to look out for in the passage. What does that mean? If I want to summarize a passage and I read the introductory paragraph, what I'll do is I'll stop and I'll go to the question and read it. If I've read the question and I pick out the keyword in the question, I'm going to use that keyword to look out for some salient points in the passage, and that will help you to be able to summarize the passage easily. Don't just read the passage mindlessly. Know what you're looking for in the passage, even from the onset. It will help to facilitate you answering the questions easily. I hope that is gotten. So these are my summary tips, and if you can follow these guidelines, if you can avoid the don'ts in writing summary, you can come up with a perfect summary answer. Thank you for joining me in today's class. I'll greatly appreciate if you can subscribe to this channel. Thank you.